Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of the Maradia Show. I'm your host, Shadeed Muhammad. In today's episode, inshallah ta'ala, we will be talking about emotional baggage. All right, this is a continuation of our discussions that we've been having about marriage. We dealt with uh, 5 ways to discern or to distinguish toxic love from healthy love. And continuing with that discussion or continuing with the subject of marriage today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to be talking about emotional baggage. So let me start with the definition of emotional baggage. And for those of us who have been in relationships and those relationships have traumatized us, um, whether these relationships were marriages, um, boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, for those of you who are not Muslim who are listening, um, as well as, friendships. Some friendships could be toxic and could have created emotional baggage. So I want us to listen with an open mind. I want us to listen with, some level of objectivity, so that we can begin processing. A lot of times, as I put a post out last night, a lot of times we listen with biases. All right. We listen with biases. And as a result of that, it doesn't allow us to receive, it doesn't allow us to receive the information that someone is trying to give us because we're constantly sifting through the information and only taking what we believe is relevant to us when in fact all of it might be relevant to you if you would just be a little bit, just exercise a little bit more objectivity. All right. So let's start with the definition of emotional baggage. What is emotional baggage? And we hear this all the time. And unfortunately, sometimes in marriages, when we want to dismiss someone, especially with men, we can be very dismissive with this. We like, don't bring your emotional baggage into my relationship, into our relationship. And it's just like, but you have emotional baggage as well. For you to even say that, For you to even say that. And yes, the person may have emotional baggage, but that is not that does not give you the right to dismiss someone on the basis that they are bringing their emotional baggage. Like obviously, if it's emotional baggage, they can't, they got to process that. They can't just they got to unpack it. You know what I mean? Like telling someone don't bring your emotional baggage in here is very dismissive. Is very dismissive of that person's negative experience or experiences. All right. Don't do that to people. You know what I mean? We need to unpack that. Maybe we need to say that, change the language a little bit. Maybe we need to unpack your emotional baggage and let's sift through it. And the things that I can help you with, I'll do my best to help you with. And the things that are above my pay grade, then I'm going to refer you to someone that can help you with that. But, we need to take this very serious. All right. All right. So, yes, some people do hold on to their baggage and stay there. That's what we're talking about today, getting rid of the emotional baggage. The first step to dealing with something like this is to recognize you have it. All right. Ma'rifatul illa nisful ilaj. Understanding your sickness is half of your cure. So the first thing that we have to do is recognize what emotional baggage is and then look at ourselves and say, am I carrying around that bag? Or am I carrying around these bags? You hear a lot of this bag talk, right? Get into the bag, right? And the money bag is what they're referring to. But let's get to the emotional bag. Let's get to that bag. Because if you get to the emotional bag, the money bag will come on its own. Some of us are our own worst enemy. You ain't gonna never get to the bag until you get to the bag, right? You ain't gonna never get to the money bag until you get to your emotional bag because you are constantly creating unnecessary enemies in your life, constantly creating unnecessary enemies in your life because of your emotional bag, constantly putting up walls in front of you, denying yourself the assistance, the aid and assistance of people that God has put into your life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aids us and assists us through other people. And because sometimes we are our own worst enemy, we put up walls denying people access to us that can actually help us. So before you can get to the bag, you got to get to the real bag. Stop chasing the money bag. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that whoever wakes up, man asbaha wa hammuhu, that whoever wakes up and his only aspiration, his only desire is Allah, is God in the hereafter, tatihi dunya, that the world will come to him while he doesn't even desire it. The bag will come. Correct your relationship between you and God. Correct your relationship between you and the most important people to you in your life, and the bag will automatically come to you. Think about people like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq who would give away all of his wealth and Allah would give it right back to him. Think about people like Uthman ibn Affan who would give away all his wealth and Allah would give it right back to him. Think about people like Abdurrahman ibn Auf, who would give away, who told, Sa'd ibn Rabi'a, he said, Unasifuka nisfa ma, I will give you half of what I own. Half of my wealth is yours. These were people who were not concerned about that bag. You understand? They're not concerned about the money bag. The money bag will come. That will come. Concentrate on your emotional bag. Unpack that bag and make room in your life for people that God is going to place in your life to assist you, to help you. Because you don't know how many doors you have closed in your life, and you are continuously closing because you are not concentrating on the real bag. The real bag is your emotional bag. Concentrate on that. Stop closing doors. Stop putting up walls. Stop chasing people away that God sent into your life. Allah sent to you to help you. We become our own worst enemy, chasing the bag. All right. So emotional baggage. What is emotional baggage? Emotional baggage is the sum of all negative experiences that you've had in relationships, both romantic or otherwise, that you bring with you throughout your life. That is the definition, the clinical definition of emotional baggage. It is the sum of all negative experiences that you've had in relationships, both romantic and otherwise. So, emotional baggage, pay attention to the definition. Emotional baggage is not just what you pick up from, marriages, previous marriages, or um, uh, male and female relationships. Emotional baggage can be from parents. Emotional baggage can be from siblings. Emotional baggage can be from friendships, toxic friends, negative friends that you have allowed to come into your life and have dumped all of their toxicity on you. And then they leave out of your life, leaving you to carry all of it. You guys follow me? So it's not just about relationships, all right? Although much of our negative baggage we have created in relationships. So let me break that down even further. Emotional baggage is the unprocessed negative emotions. If you are taking notes, I would suggest that you're listening and that you are taking notes, or that you will have the ability to go back and listen to this again and take notes. All right. Qayyidul ilm bil kitaba. Trap your knowledge down by writing it, or else you're going to forget it, or else you're going to misinterpret it, misconstrue. Write it down. Write it down. Take notes on your phone. Take notes, however, but don't just sit here commenting, because you are the expert. I'm not an expert either. But obviously, I've done my due diligence of research before I started talking about this. This is actually part of a workshop that I did, in our marriage retreat. And I'm giving it to you guys for free. People paid for this stuff. And I'm giving it to you guys for free. All right? Emotional baggage is unprocessed negative emotions. Unprocessed, meaning this is raw emotion that is just sitting in your subconscious mind or sitting on your heart that you have not processed yet for whatever reason. for whatever reason. Maybe you just haven't had the space. Maybe you're overwhelmed with children, with work. You know what I mean? Like, you got to take time out for you. This is what I have been saying to you guys for the past year: investing in yourself. As I put in my post, the greatest gift that you can give to someone that you love is to love yourself enough not to hurt them. To give them, to love yourself enough to offer them the best of you that you can offer. That is how you show someone that you really love them. Work on your issues so that you can offer the person the best part of you, so that you cannot hurt someone. That's the greatest form of love. Don't say I love you, but then you turn around and you hurt the person. That's not love. Love doesn't hurt in that fashion. Love is not painful in that particular fashion. Work on you. The best gift that you can give to someone that you love is to love you enough not to hurt them. Love you enough to work on yourself so that you can offer them the best parts of you. You understand? But don't just sit there and allow yourself to absorb all of this negative energy and negative experiences and then go into somebody's life telling them that you love them, but you are offering them the worst part of yourself, the worst version of yourself, when the whole time you were single, you had an opportunity to work on you and you didn't. Anybody who is single right now, in between relationships, not in a relationship, not looking for a relationship, just because you are not looking for a relationship does not mean that you should not be preparing yourself for a relationship. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. The 5 P's of success. Just because you are not in a relationship right now does not mean that you are on hiatus from self refinement. We, every day that we wake up, we are trying to be better that day than we were the day before. There is never an hiatus on self refinement. We're constantly trying to evolve, constantly trying to do better so that we can offer the world the better version of ourselves. Think about people who are 40, 50, 60 years old, still offering the world the worst version of themselves because they never took the time out to work on themselves. And for those of you who were on the last Periscope, I mentioned the book Emotional Intelligence. Here is the book here. I mentioned it before, and here it is again. Emotional Intelligence. This book is a total of 137 pages. This is something that you can read between Dhuhr and Asr. You can read this between Dhuhr and Asr. You may have to read it a couple of times to process, but read it. Emotion is a small read, but very impactful, very powerful. We need to start taking responsibility and ownership over ourselves, over our emotions. Stop making people take accountability for your emotions. If you are triggered, you feel some type of way, that's not my problem. That's not your spouse's problem. That's your problem. The author is Gil Hassan. Hassan. If you can see the author's name here. It's not my book. You can order it from you can order it from Amazon. You can go to I bought the book out of Barnes and Nobles. I don't know. It's not my book. You're asking me where can you order the book? Wherever else you order books from. I don't know. It's not my book. I purchased the book from Barnes and Nobles. You can buy the book. All right. So emotional baggage is the unprocessed negative emotions. Unprocessed, keyword here. Keyword. Unprocessed negative emotions from past negative experiences. That means what? That means that your emotional baggage is from, number one, emotions that were not processed. Number two, emotions that are negative. Number three, the negative emotions that were brought about because of negative experiences. Number four, from the past. If you are having emotional baggage currently because of something in the future, that is not emotional baggage, that is anxiety. And there's medication for that. There's, help that you can get for that. We're talking about negative experiences from the past that you have not processed yet. Negative experiences that have triggered negative emotions that you have yet to process. All right. And these negative emotions are triggered by people, places, and behaviors that tend to impact your current space. That these negative emotions are triggered. So this is unprocessed, raw, unprocessed, negative emotions that were created by past negative experiences that are triggered by people, places, and behaviors. And it impacts your current state. You understand? That is the definition of emotional baggage. So much to unpack, even with that definition. There's a lot to unpack, even within that definition alone. All right. Why are you still holding on to these emotions? Why have you yet to process this stuff? Stuff that happened to us, 20 years ago. Stuff that happened to us when we were in high school. Stuff that happened to us when we were in college. Stuff that happened to us when we were in grammar school. And we still have not processed. Why? Is it that we just ignore it, hoping that it just disappears, jump into a relationship with someone, hoping that that person, provides us with this euphoric experience that makes us totally forget about the past negative experiences? That is self-delusional. That is not even logical. That somebody is just going to take me away from all of the pain and the hurt. That's your pain and the hurt. The person is only allowed to, someone outside of yourself is only allowed to give you an experience to their capacity. Once that experience wears off, you're still stuck with your emotions, right? Looking to be rescued, right? We want somebody to just take the pain away, provide me with this euphoric, experience so I don't ever have to go back and revisit these negative emotions and feelings. Some of it never goes away, but you learn how to manage it. You learn how to deal with it. You are aware of it, and you are able to contain it so that it does not impact the people that you love. No, some emotional baggage never goes anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes it's there. You are scarred so deeply, it's never going to go away. But you learn how to manage the pain when it's triggered so that you do not allow your being triggered to, cause you to to inflict pain on other people. Unprocessed sounds like they haven't learned from their past negative possibly, possibly, possibly they haven't learned from the experience. But just learning from the experience does not take away the pain. You can say, damn, like I went into this situation, this was the result I got, it's painful. I know never to put myself in that situation again, but that has nothing to do with you processing the pain. That one has absolutely nothing to do with the other. You can learn your lesson, but you're still stuck with that pain, and you still have to process that. You still have to process it, and you still have to begin sorting out your emotions that are connected to that experience. That's what I mean when I say process. Sorting out your emotions, the emotions that that situation triggered or brought about. And you have to learn how to work through that. I mean, like, with the whole Salafi, like, there's certain masjids, if I was to walk into now, I would literally be triggered. Literally, I kid you not. There's certain masajid that I would never go in and pray. Ever. I would never step foot. Wallah al-Azim, if the adhan went off and that was the only masjid that I had to go in and pray, I would pray outside. Because even stepping foot in that masjid would trigger me. It would trigger me. And I know that, which is why I stay away from certain places. There's certain people that trigger me. Just seeing them, hearing their voice triggers me, which is why I know that, so I stay away from people, I stay away from places, I stay away from behaviors. I stay away from certain behaviors. You understand? When I start to see certain behaviors manifest in individuals, I begin to distance myself from them because I know that that behavior is going to trigger me. It's going to trigger me in a way where it's going to bring out another side of me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want that side to come out, so I stay away. Understanding, and some of those triggers may never go, and I mean they are a little easier to deal with today because there's been so much space between myself and the times in which I experienced that. But those are nonetheless, the negative experiences are still there. You understand? The negative experiences are still there. So it's very important, man, for us to be aware of how people, places, as well as behaviors, how they trigger us. All right. Very important for you to be aware of that, man. So we all familiar with, and some people don't, they ignore that. Nah, it's a lecture going on here, there's a conference going on here, and you still go. And then after you go, you like, damn, man, I wish I never went. Why do you keep putting yourself in those situations? Why do you constantly keep putting yourself in those? Know yourself well enough not to put yourself in situations that are going to trigger certain emotions that are going to make you uncomfortable. I know that about myself very early on. All right. 5%ers call it knowledge of self, right? We say in the clinical world, it's called self awareness. Self awareness. I don't put myself like, I wouldn't give a daggone what scholar was coming to what masjid and everybody was flocking there to go. I'm not going. I'll catch the audio. Somebody record it for me. I'm not going. I don't want to see certain people. I don't want to be around certain people. I don't want to be in certain circles where it's going to trigger negative experiences that I've had in the past. I don't put myself in those situations. And some of us are so naive into thinking, oh, well, they're having to eat here or they're doing this over here, and you just want to show up at the shindig. You just want to show up. Right? You protect your peace. Absolutely. You protect your peace. Once you struggle through certain things to get to a certain place in your life, you protect that with everything. You protect that with everything. You don't allow, this is where everybody is going. This is where everybody's going to be. That's good for them. I'm great on that. I don't need, to be a part of the crowd to feel validated. That doesn't validate me. Oh, where was you at? Why wasn't you there? Yo, the sheikh gave it up. MashaAllah. That's good. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. But I don't put myself around people, places, or behaviors that trigger negative emotions. I'm sorry. I don't do that. I'm aware of myself enough to know where I belong and where I do not belong. I do not put myself in places I don't belong. When a brother says, "Hey, we're going to dinner," such and such is going, I'm like, first thing I'm like, who's gonna be there? Who's gonna be there? Hassan, no. I was in Atlanta. Hassan was like, "Yo, come over to the crib. We having food, blah blah blah." And my first question to Hassan was, "Who's gonna be there?" Because if you're inviting certain people that I don't want to be around, I'm not coming. I'm good. Sorry, not gonna happen. So it's very important that we are aware of ourselves and protect your peace. Protect your environments. Don't put yourself around people, places, and behaviors that you know is going to trigger you. All right. I mean, we all have that emotional baggage. We have it. Right. And people think that you're being funny. Absolutely. No, I'm not being funny, but I have something to lose. You don't have anything to lose. I have something to lose. I'm sorry. And at 40 something years old, if you don't have anything to lose, and I feel sorry for you. At 40 something years old, if you don't have anything to lose by just, randomly putting yourself around people, places, and things, if you don't have anything to lose, I feel sorry for you. Honestly. All right, so let's keep it moving with the emotional baggage. So we went through, number one, the definition of emotional baggage. Now let's talk about how emotional baggage, um, it affects your life. What is wrong? What is so wrong about emotional baggage? Why is it such a bad thing? All right, let me tell you why emotional baggage is wrong, right? Number one, emotional baggage affects your life because you start to become overprotective about your emotions. You protect your emotions from being exposed out of fear or shame of the belief that no one either understands you, and you numb yourself. And let's talk about how this affects you in a relationship. Whether you're a non-Muslim and you're listening, and you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, or you're in a serious relationship, non-commitment relationship. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to use that term, a non-commitment relationship. Because if you're in a committed relationship, that is, i.e., for a marriage. If you're in a committed relationship, the person is going to marry you. If you're in a non-commitment relation, and some of you Muslims are in non-commitment relationships as well, and we've talked about that for the past week, right? Being a mistress or a man being in an emotional relationship, you are in a non-commitment relationship. And don't you think that we're just a little bit too old, right, to be in a non-committed relationship? If you know what I mean, like when somebody looks at you, the first thing you got to say to the person is that, number one, I'm a commitment man. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna be with me, we got to get married. We're gonna have children. We're gonna do the whole experience thing. If that's not what you in for, then keep it moving. You're not my type. You understand? You're not my type. I am the committed type. I am not into non-commitment relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be a friend? I don't need another friend. I'm 47, 40 something years old. I don't need another friend. You understand? Friends was when I was in grammar school and in high school. I was in that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in a space where I need new friends. I need loyalty. I need commitment. Those are big words that only adults play with. You understand? Adults play with these terms. Loyalty, commitment. Those are big words for big people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, I'm not on the playground in the sandbox. You want to go play, go find somebody to play with. I'm not that person. You want friend, you want to play, you want to playmate, you want to have play dates, because that's what you're doing when she invites you over her house or you invite her out to dinner. Y'all on a play date. Y'all still doing what children do, what we did when we were teenagers. Some of y'all 30 something, 40 something years old still having play dates. Like, when the hell are you going to grow up? When are you going to grow up? I'm curious. You still having play dates with the opposite sex. You get what you want from the person and keep it moving, then it's off to the next person. You know what I mean? Like, you play with kids. With adults, we use terms like loyalty, like commitment, building, families, family units. We start to use big words, which I know is beyond some of your vocabularies, and that's okay. We started, man. We need to grow up, which is why the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said there are three people who Allah Subhanahu wa Taala will not look at them on the day of judgment, will not purify them for their sins. He will not speak to them, and for them is a painful punishment. And one of those three is a Sheikhun Zanin, is an older person who still commits fornication. Is an older person who still commits fornication. Allah will not look at you. He will not speak to you. He will not purify you from your sins, and for you is a painful punishment. Sheikhun Zanin is an older person who still commits fornication. Are you 30 something years old and you still laying down with somebody that has not made you any commitment? It says a lot about your mentality. It says a lot about your insecurities. Damn, you need to be in somebody's arms no matter what the circumstance, no matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter whether the person committed to you or not. Doesn't matter whether the person is loyal to you or not. None of that means anything. You're that damn desperate that you would be in somebody's arms and they haven't made you any commitment. And as a man, you shouldn't want any woman in your arms unless you have made her a commitment. That's the honorable thing to do. Anyway, how emotional baggage affects you in your marriage. So let's talk about how emotional baggage, when you go into a marriage and how taking your emotional baggage into your marriage, how it affects your marriage. Number one is that you become overprotective about your emotions. When you have emotional baggage and you're in a relationship, you become very overprotective about your emotions. You protect your emotions from being exposed. So there's no transparency. Men, we do this. Men, we mask. Women are a lot time. Women are transparent. They don't know how to control that. A woman will tell you everything that you need to know. All you got to do is pay attention. She may not say it verbally, but women will tell you everything that you need to know. All you got to do is observe, right? What did the Prophet ﷺ do with Aisha? He said, Aisha didn't come out and say to the Prophet ﷺ, I'm angry with you. I don't like you right now. I'm not feeling you right now. Aisha never came out and said that to the Prophet ﷺ. But how did the Prophet know that Aisha was in her feelings with him? Something that he did, something that he said. The Prophet ﷺ observed. All you got to do is observe a woman and she'll tell you everything that you need to know. Right, her wording. She would say, wa Rabbi Ibrahim. Right? The Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha, I know when you're angry with me. And I know when you're pleased with me. She said, how? Who are you to know women? Like, you know what I mean? Like, women get upset when you figure them out. She said, how? The Prophet ﷺ said that when you're pleased with me, when you're happy with me, you say, Wa Rabbi Muhammad. I swear by the Lord of Muhammad. In your conversations, you might be talking and she might say, Wa Rabbi Muhammad. And I swear by the Lord of Muhammad. He said, but when you're angry with me, you swear by the Lord of Ibrahim. You say, Wa Rabbi Ibrahim. And as I'm listening to you, I can hear, wow, you swore by the Lord of Ibrahim and not by the Lord of Muhammad. So that means that you're angry with me. You're upset with me. And Aisha confirmed this. She said, Bala, ya Rasulullah. Of course, you're right. She said, Lakinni la ahjura illa ismak. She said, but I only boycott your name. Meaning, I still give you your rights, even though I'm angry with you. That's maturity. You understand? That's maturity. You can be angry and upset all you want. Just don't deny me my haq because you're angry with me, right? Men get angry, storm out the house. You don't answer the text messages. Don't answer the phone call. You want to take your kids. You want to do all of this, childish, petty stuff. Grow the hell up. You can be angry, but don't deny the person their rights because you're angry with them. The Prophet Allah says in the Quran, لا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم أن لا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. Do not let your dislike of a person or your hatred of a people still pay the bills. Damn, if he goes that far, you need to question whether or not you need to be married to the person. You gonna stop paying bills because you angry? All of the responsibility that God put on your shoulder, you gonna throw out the window because you angry? You're not gonna pay the bills because you angry? I don't even know if that's a marriage. That marriage is contingent on emotion. That marriage is contingent on emotion, meaning as long as as long as he feels good, everything is good. But the moment he getting his feelings, everything goes out the window. That means that you disposable at any point. You're disposable. When he get mad, you're disposable. That is a person that needs clinical help. That is not a person that needs to be in a marriage. I'm just this real talk. That's not a person that needs to be in a marriage. Right? He needs soul searching. Absolutely. You need to go find yourself before you try to find a wife. Find yourself first. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, do not allow your hatred of a people cause you to be unjust to them. Do not allow your hatred of the people to cause you to be unjust. And that can apply even in a marital construct, even between husband and wife. Don't allow your hatred or your dislike of a person cause you to be unfair. And when we look at the hadith of Aisha and the Prophet ﷺ, we can see that ayat manifest in their actions. And that is what we are missing. We know all of the ayats, all of the hadith, we know all of this stuff. But the application of it is what we're missing. The application of it is what we are missing. We can see in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, in his life, in his dealings with the world around him, we can see the Quran, which is why Aisha described him as the Quran walking. You know, kana khuluquhu al-Quran. His character was the Quran. His character was the Quran. So that is what we are missing, the practical application of it. We can give you the whole rundown of ayats and hadith all day long, but where do we see it manifesting? She said, yes, but I only boycott your name. I'm upset with you. I'm mad at you. And I don't want to mention your name in my conversations, right? And that's normal for women. And as I said, if you pay attention to a woman, she will tell you everything. Usually, when a woman comes into a relationship with emotional baggage, you can see it. All you got to do is sit back and observe. All you can just sit back and observe, and you can see all of the pain and the trauma that she has been through. Women are usually open books. It is the men who come in and are very overprotective over our emotions, right? We protect our emotions from being exposed out of fear and shame. That's for us as men. We don't want to feel like we're always in control. And the fact of the matter is that we're not always in control. Look at the dua that we make. Almost every single dua that we make, we lead with our weakness in front of God. Allahumma rahmataka arju, fala takilni ila nafsi tarafata ayn. Oh Allah, your mercy is what I desire. Do not leave me to myself, not even for the blinking of an eye. Not even for the blinking of an eye. And then you ask for what you want. وَأَصْلِحْ لِي شَأْنِي كُلَّ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ. You know, and rectify all of my affairs. There's nothing worthy of worship except you. So, we, in most of our dua in the Islamic tradition, we lead with our weaknesses, our frailty, our human frailty in front of God. That is a reminder to ourselves that we are not in control. You know what I mean? So it's important for men to understand that because you have been broken by a situation, because you have been fractured, not broken, but fractured by a situation. One of Allah's names is Al-Jabbar. Al-Jabbar, one of the meanings of Al-Jabbar is to fix. The Prophet ﷺ supplicated, Wajburni, warfa'ni, fix me and raise me. So yes, we get fractured, we get scarred. We're never broken. We get fractured, we get scarred by situations, people, circumstances. And God is there to fix you. That's one of his attributes. Al-Jabbar, to fix you. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the fixer, who is he fixing? Broken or frail human beings who have been fractured in circumstances and situations. So it's for us to understand that we do have weaknesses as men. We have weaknesses, but we come into a relationship, we become very overprotective over our emotions, right? Out of fear of shame or the belief that no one is going to understand me, and we numb ourselves emotionally. Right? Some people get broken depending on your fragility, how fragile you are. Some people get broken, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still there to fix you. All right? So, and sometimes how does emotional baggage affect our lives? Is that we numb ourselves emotionally because we gotta exist in that relationship, and and because we don't want to expose our brokenness, we don't want to expose our fragility, so we hide it. We don't want to be shamed, we don't want to feel less than the other person, so we hide it and we numb ourselves to it. We act like it don't exist, perpetuating this state of emotional discomfort, perpetuating this state because you're never going to get better, right? There are tons of reasons why men don't expose, their sometimes a man doesn't expose, his emotional side or his emotional hurt and pain because he doesn't trust that the woman is going to respect that. How many women have men expose themselves to only for the woman to turn right back around and throw it in his face? And it's just like, damn, I shared that with you in a state of vulnerability. I was vulnerable and I shared that with you. And now you turn around in an argument and you throw it back in my face? Absolutely. So some men, I mean, there are tons of reasons why men don't expose that side. We can't narrow that down to that's the way society raised them. That's the way. That's not with everybody. That's not with everybody. Some men don't expose that side of them to their wives or to the women they are in relationships with because they don't believe that the women will respect that. You know what I mean? Like, some women may start looking at you as you're weak. This is especially with African Americans. Black women, y'all have, high standards of, you on one end you condemn the man for toxic masculinity, and then on the other side of that, when he lets his guard down and becomes vulnerable in front of you, you look at him as if he's weak. You got to make your mind up. Which one do you want? And if you want a man that is, effeminate, then just go marry another woman. You know what I mean? Like, why are you gonna break the man down to make him a female just to make yourself feel good? You know what I mean? Like, come on. As I said before, we are so narcissistic today. We are in love with ourselves. So a woman goes into a relationship with a man. Everything about him is toxic masculinity, toxic patriarchy. Break him down to his lowest molecule until he's just a mirror. He's just a direct reflection of you. He's a woman now. Look at Dwayne Wade. You a woman. Your woman has broken you down to such a degree you don't even function. Like, men looking at you with the side eye, like, you serious? Why didn't she just marry a woman? Why didn't you just go and be with somebody like yourself? Because it's obviously that's what you wanted. You wanted to be with a woman. So you go marry a man and you break him down until he becomes the woman that you wanted. So, and we'll start getting into some of the we'll start getting into some of that discussions as we move along, because I think that that's a discussion that we need to have in the Islamic community. So we numb ourselves in the relationships. We numb ourselves. And that is the danger of going into a relationship with emotional baggage. You numb yourself. Love is the ultimate vulnerability. You cannot have a relationship without some level of vulnerability. I'm just being honest with you. You cannot have a relationship without some level of vulnerability. And love is the greatest vulnerability. So if you're going to go into a relationship and be in love, there has to be some letting down your guard. There has to be some exposure to, some of the emotional pain and things that you've been through. But if you're going to go into a relationship and completely numb yourself emotionally, not allow yourself to feel, if you're in a relationship with someone right now that has numbed themselves emotionally, possibly it's because of the emotional baggage. And this is the end result of that. This is the effect of going into the relationship with those levels of emotional baggage, because there are levels to it. Not everybody is on the same level. Okay? So that's number one. You become emotionally numb. All right. Number two, how does emotional baggage affect your relationship, affect your life? Is that you begin to project your pain onto your partner. You begin to project your pain onto your partner. When the person sees you are in a current relationship with triggers that triggers your pain, you take your frustration out on them. So now the person is triggering you. We talked about that before, right? The person is triggering you. You got all this emotional baggage. You're in a relationship with someone. They're doing things, saying things that is triggering you. And now you are taking it out on them rather than dealing with your emotional baggage. Absolutely. You begin to project. You're projecting your pain onto your partner because you have not taken the time out to deal with it yourself. If you're in a relationship with someone right now and every little bump in the road in your relationship is causing them to be triggered, and once they are triggered, they take their, being triggered state out on you, then know that they are projecting their pain on you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. By default of being in a relationship with them, right? You are now taking on this other person's issues. And rather than fix them and understand that they are triggered, here again, the emotional intelligence, rather than them realizing, damn, like I keep snapping at my spouse. I keep yelling at my spouse. I keep, my spouse triggers me. Every little thing they do is triggering me. Rather than turn the arrow towards yourself and say, well, I need to sit down with myself and realize and figure out why am I being triggered so easily. Rather than do that, you try to change your partner. You need to stop doing this. You need to stop talking like that. You need to stop doing this. This stuff is doing this to me and it's doing that to me. And you're triggered all over the place rather than you just dealing with you and why you are triggered so easily by this person. You understand? Hurt people hurt people. Absolutely. You are in pain and you are projecting your pain onto the other person. And yes, the person has to now walk on eggshells. Got to be careful not to trigger you this way. Got to be careful not to trigger you that way. Got to be careful not to say it like this. Got to be, it's like a whole manual that the spouse is giving you so that they are not triggered, rather than dealing with the fact that you are triggered very easily for what? So this is how emotional baggage affects the person. Now, it depends, because if you are in a relationship with someone and you are noticing these things, and the person is objective enough to say, you know what, I really think I need to sit down and with myself, and I need to have some honest conversations with myself. I don't think it's a relationship that you need to just pull out of. All right, because the lesson will continue to repeat itself until you get it. You might pull out of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might have put you with this person for reasons that are greater than what you can see. You see it as just a relationship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees it, or Allah is using the situation for you as a training camp. You are being trained. You are married to the person that you are married to for divine reasons. Understand, this is not just a choice. This is not just a choice. You didn't just choose to marry the person that you married. It's deeper than that. Why can't we see with a spiritual lens? Everything is not just physical. It's not just physical. You didn't just bump into the person that you're married to and then out of nowhere y'all got married. Look at all of the pieces of the puzzle that came together when you married the person that you married. That didn't happen by you or by your spouse's, doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was guiding that situation the whole way through. Even if that situation doesn't last. Because the situation lasting doesn't determine whether or not it was a healthy, successful relationship. Because our lives cross paths and align with the lives of other people for divine reasons that are greater than the physical pleasures that we get out of the situation. You're looking at it from a physical standpoint. But then there's a spiritual element to that as well. Maybe it is to have children. Maybe this person that you are married to, that you're working through those triggers, maybe the person is triggering you, and then eventually you guys divorce, and then you realize now at this moment, thinking back, that I put this spouse through hell because I was not aware of myself. Now, moving forward, you can go into a relationship with someone with more self-awareness, or certain lessons that Allah was trying to teach you by being in a relationship with that person, being more patient, being more considerate, being more empathetic, being more sympathetic, being more self-reflective. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Muslim mir'atun lil-Muslim, that the Muslim is a mirror to another Muslim. We mirror to one another our imperfections. So when we are in relationships with people and the person is exposing certain sides of ourselves, they're holding a mirror up to you. Don't get mad at the reflection. Don't get mad at the person that is holding up the mirror. Get mad at the reflection that you see in the mirror and fix it. So, number one, how emotional baggage affects you. We're going to be done in a few minutes. Number one, you become overprotective. All right, you numb yourself emotionally. Number two, you project your pain onto your spouse. Number three, how emotional baggage affects your relationship is that you become indecisive, right? You invest more energy in making simple decisions than before because you've lost confidence in yourself. That's emotional baggage. When you learn how to put that bag down and unpack, you learn how to become more confident within yourself. As long as you are carrying around that bag, and or in that bag is negative, unprocessed emotions from previous negative experiences, you're going to always be indecisive. Or you might be on the flip side of indecisive, you might be cocky and arrogant because you're not self-reflective. But you have the tendency to be very indecisive. You invest more time and energy in making simple decisions than you did before because you've lost confidence within yourself. That is the end result of you not processing your negative emotional baggage. You become indecisive. You lose confidence in yourself. Should I do this? Should I not do that? Whereas before, you were very, decisive in your decision making. Now, very indecisive. Now, very, you know, not so confident in the decisions that you make. You got to put that bag down and you got to begin sorting through it. Find you again. You got to find that confident person that you once were. But the only way you can get through that is you gotta unpack that bag. You gotta unpack that bag. You are confident. You're smart. You're confident. But you have allowed the negative, the heaviness of the emotional bag that you are carrying to weigh you down. So therefore, you are not confident with the decisions that you make anymore. Okay. Number four, from the negative effects. Am I making sense to you guys? Does this stuff make sense? Does it resonate with any of you on any level at this point, or am I just talking off my rocker? Number four, from how negative emotional baggage, how it affects us, is that we lose trust in ourselves. You don't trust yourself anymore. You don't trust yourself anymore. You blame yourself for past failed relationships, right? That's another thing. That emotional baggage causes you to do self blame. If you've been in negative relationships before, it wasn't all your fault. It wasn't all your fault. Stop taking all of the blame. It was two of you in a relationship. And even if you take the bulk of the blame for the breakdown of that relationship, the other person takes some of that as well. If you just humble yourself and you're able to look back at your situation, you can say, I played a part in that. I played a part in that. It wasn't all the other person. I played a part in that. But don't take all of the blame, right? Because when you do that, you begin now not to trust yourself. If you take on all of the blame for your failed past relationships, you will end up losing trust in yourself. You don't trust yourself. And this is why, wallah al-azim, this is why a lot of brothers and sisters rely on imams and students of knowledge to make all of their decisions for you. You have a sit down with a brother and a sister, turn to the imam. Do you think I should marry him? Do you think you should marry him? Why in the world are you asking me? That's your life. You got to live with him. What do you think, brother imam? Why are you asking me? I don't have to live with him. You do. You follow what I'm saying? Like, why don't you trust yourself enough to know whether or not this situation is good for you or not? There's a lot of sisters, a lot of you have married brothers on the premise that, oh, the imam, he came highly recommended. But did you do any research on your own? Did you do any research on your own? That's like some of my students. You sit in the classroom and you copy off of somebody else's paper. You're copying off of somebody else's paper, not even knowing whether or not he got the right answer. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe he's wrong, and you're copying off of his paper. How do you put so much trust in somebody else? How? What does that say about you? Are you that untrusting and that insecure and that lacking in confidence that you would put all of your trust in somebody else's answer? How? I get on my kids in class. I'm like, how could you cheat off of somebody? And sometimes you cheat off of somebody. Like sometimes you might ask the imam, imam, do you think that this is a good? And the imam done been married 4, 5, 6, 7 times. The imam is in a horrible marriage his damn self, and you asking him for advice? Student of knowledge, he's in a horrible marriage his damn self, and you asking him, Sheikh, do you think that that's a good marriage? He's not even in a good marriage. How the hell are you asking him? You don't have enough trust within yourself to know whether or not, this is what makes a person a good counselor. When a person messages me, gives me the whole spiel, the whole rundown of their situation, and then say, what do you think I should do? What do you think you should do? This is not my situation. This is your situation. But you're not going to put the blame on me. You're not going to wait for me to say, oh, I think you should divorce. Wallah al-Azim, brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. Stop giving people marital advice. Refer them to professionals. Stop giving people the option to not take control of their own affairs. Stop doing that, because the person is only going to turn around and blame you. Well, you told me to divorce him. You told me to take a second wife. Brother, stop giving brothers advice. Brother says, man, I'm thinking about taking a second wife. Man, my first wife ain't acting right, blah, blah, blah. Don't tell the brother, just take on a second wife. You ain't got to tell her. She can find out later after you done already tucked yourself away. Stop giving that type of advice, because that falls on your shoulders. That falls on your shoulders. Because when the fit hit the shan, the person is going to turn around and look at you and say, well, you told me to do it. It's like, you don't have no intellect. You don't have no intellect. God gave you an intellect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Allahu alladhi akhrajakum min butuni ummahatikum la ta'lamuna shay'an. That Allah is the one who brought you forth from the wombs of your mothers knowing absolutely nothing. وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And then He gave you sight, hearing, and intellect. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, so that perhaps you may be grateful. Perhaps you may show gratitude. Allah gave you sight, hearing, and intellect, the 3 main faculties that you are going to use to navigate your way through life. Your hearing, your sight, and your intellect. And unfortunately, in the Islamic community, what we have done is we've allowed people to take that away from us. I know what I heard. You're going to put a spin on it and say, no, he didn't say that. He said this. It's like, I'm not stupid. I know what I heard. I ain't dumb. Steal your hearing from you. Your sight. I know what I saw. Nah, that's not what you saw. No, I mean, put, Fir'aun's magicians. We're going to put a spin on it. That's not what you saw. That's not what you heard. And that's not what you understood. We allow people to take that from us. Don't allow nobody to steal that from you. Allah identified those 3 faculties out of all of the faculties that we have as human beings for a reason. You understand? Allah, out of all of our faculties, He said that Allah is the one that brought you forth from the wombs of your mothers knowing absolutely nothing. And then He gave you sight, hearing, and understanding so that perhaps you may show great gratitude. Why did He highlight these 3 faculties out of all of the faculties that we have as human beings? Because these are the navigating faculties that we need to find our way in life. Find our way to Him, number 1. But in finding our way to God, we got to sift through the bull crap. We got to sift through the BS in order to get to God. This person telling you worship this sheikh. This person telling you follow this sheikh. This person, you got to use your hearing, your sight, and your intellect to navigate through the bullshit to get to God. And that's in every religion. In Christianity, they telling you, oh, you were born sinner, born in sin. Why am I born in sin? That's bull crap. Tell me why I'm born in sin. What did a newborn baby do to be born in sin? Please tell me that God had to send his only begotten son to die for the sins of mankind. What the hell did mankind do? Please tell me, because that's bull crap. With all due respect to those who follow that belief, that is bull crap. Use your intellect. What did I do? What did an infant do that they had to be born in sin? Well, Adam ate from the tree. Well, that's Adam's sin. Not to mention that Adam repented. God accepted Adam's repentance. And he's still going to punish Adam's progeny all the way up until now. Everybody's born in sin. Nah, we're going to remove all of that. The Quran tells us that Adam repented and Allah accepted his repentance. فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. That Allah taught Adam how to repent. And when Adam repented, Allah accepted his repentance. He is a Tawwab Rahim. He is the oft-returning and he is the most merciful. So therefore, as human beings, we were born in the atonement of Adam, of our father Adam, not born in the sin of Adam. So therefore, there was no need for God to send his only begotten son, not to mention God doesn't have any sons, not to mention that David in the Bible was also called God's only begotten son. So which one is it? Is it David or is it Jesus? Is it David or is it Jesus? I'm really trying to figure this out. Bull crap. So you got to use these faculties to sift through the nonsense just to get to God. And then once we get to God, we're going to let Muslims pull the wool over our eyes and not use the same three faculties to stay connected to God. You got to be kidding me, man. Got to be kidding me. Not in this life. Not for me. I'm sorry. Not for me. Nobody will steal that from me. By the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm sorry. Can't let nobody take that away from me. Nobody can take that away from you. So now I'm born in sin and I got to pray to a man, God right here, but I got to pray to God's only begotten son who later on becomes God himself reincarnated. Man, you guys are confused. Then you'll get some radical Christian jump on Jesus is the way. Yeah, Jesus is the way to Prophet Muhammad. Jesus is the way to Muhammad, who is the way to God. Because there was a prophet that came after him, and Jesus prophesied that there was going to come a prophet after him. In the Bible, it's called the Comforter. And we can argue that verse all day long. There's no verse in the Bible, in today's modern day King James version of the Bible, that defines Prophet Muhammad more than the verse of the Comforter. I'll leave you to play with that. I'm not joking around with. I already know that. I explained that to my grandmother, and my grandmother said, after realizing that, she said, why can't I just die a Christian? I've been this way all my life, right? Because that's the end of the road. The end of the road is to either realize that your whole entire life was based upon a farce. Your whole entire life was based upon an ideology that is not even real. God forbid you believe that Jesus was white with blue eyes and long blonde hair. God forbid you believe that. God forbid that you have a picture of Jesus in the Last Supper over your table with a bunch of white men sitting at the table. That is indicative of all of the white Masons that signed the Bill of Rights and signed all of the documents, the American Constitution. That is the previous version of that. You think about that for a moment. We had a modern day Last Supper when the Constitution of the United States was signed. Think about how many men was there and how many of them were Masons. I might be going a little too deep for some of you. Let me stop here. I might have lost a few of you. Anyway, number 4, When emotional baggage is not dealt with in your relationships, um, you begin to lose trust in yourself. You don't trust yourself anymore. All right. You begin losing trust in yourself. Um, you blame yourself for past relationship failures. All right. You blame yourself for past relationship failures. All right. And you lose trust within yourself. And number five, last one, when you have emotional baggage in your relationships, you bring your emotional baggage into the relationship. Um, you begin comparing what your lives would have been like if you never met the person, all right, to what your life is now, right? All right. Thanks, Zing. Absolutely. For he, the spirit of truth, right? Muhammad, right, has come, and he will guide you to all that is good, all that works. For he will not speak of his own accord. There's no verse in the modern day, mind you. Muhammad was already mentioned in the previous Bible. Obviously, this was the changed version of the Bible, the many changes, the many versions of the Bible, right? But they couldn't take that out of there. And so you can reinterpret that any way you want to. There's no verse in the New Testament that defines Prophet Muhammad greater than that verse that I believe is in John, all right, of the Comforter. And Christians have now focused their attention on that. So now they want to reinterpret and play with that verse. And I know you're going to go to the Comforter verse in John, and I'm familiar with that verse, but you can't give me one interpretation of that verse that all Christians agree on. Every Christian has their own interpretation of what that verse means. That in itself is a proof that that book is not from God. Because in the Bible it said God is not the father of confusion, but Christians are damn sure confused. So you tell me, if God is not the father of confusion, then why in the hell are there so many factions and sects and of Christianity? If it's not the father, not you can't give me one verse in the Bible that all Christians agree on. But Muslims agree on every single verse in the Quran. Our interpretation of it might be a little different, but we agree on the verse. It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no differing on that. No differing on that. So the last one is that we begin comparing our lives. You know, you sit with all of this baggage on your shoulder and you're saying, well, if I would have never met this person, this would have never happened. If I would have did this differently, this wouldn't have happened. You start to make comparisons, which is dismissive of the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't want to do that. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Iyyakum wal-law fa inna law taftahu amal ash-shaytan." I caution you against using if. Low in the Arabic language means if. When you're using it in the form of regret, when you're using it in the form of regret of something that happened in the past that you can't change, that is the qadr of Allah. That is the divine decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our job, once it's done, is to find the wisdom of Allah in it. Find the wisdom of God in it. Not sit back and start making comparisons to what your life would have been like if you didn't have that experience to what it is now. Because there's no guarantee that if you didn't have that experience, you would be in a better place now. This is dismissive of the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't do that. Once things happen in the past, our job now is to make sense of what happened in the past. Try to find God's wisdom. If you're struggling through some negative past experiences, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you hikmah, wisdom, to be able to sort through and find the wisdom in it. Because there's wisdom in it. Allah is Al-Hakim. Allah is the wise. Everything that He does has wisdom sprinkled in it, embedded in it. It's there. But if you're constantly making comparisons to what your life would have been like if you didn't have this experience or that experience, you'll never be able to find the wisdom in it. And when you find the wisdom, you're like, SubhanAllah, that's why I went through this, or that's why this happened or that happened. You know what I mean? Like you get it. There's no greater feeling of, ease and comfort and tranquility on the soul than to be able to spot the wisdom of Allah in a previous situation that might have been, discomforting. There's no greater feeling than that. Right. Light bulb moment. It takes time. Yes, it does. But it's there. All you got to do is ask Allah to show you the wisdom in that situation because there's wisdom in it. No matter how daunting, no matter how discomforting it was, no matter how ugly it was from the outside, there's hikmah in it. All you got to do is ask Allah to give you the wisdom, give you the ability to see His hikmah, His wisdom in that situation. And perhaps Allah will grant it to you. Self discovery, yes. Yes. Blessings and lessons. Yes, I love it. I love it. And while you guys are saying all of these great things, you got to apply it. It sounds good on paper. It sounds good on paper, but you got to apply that. So, inshallah ta'ala, I'll stop here, bi'idhnillah. Um, on Monday, inshallah, as you know, the podcast is Mondays and Wednesdays. Monday, inshallah, I will go over 5 ways to get rid of emotional baggage. All right. So I want you guys to sit with this information. We're talking about emotional baggage and how it affects your life, how it affects your relationships. And inshallah, on Monday, I'm going to give you 5 ways to remove some of this emotional baggage. 5 ways to remove this. If you enjoy this talk, then you guys need to start coming out to these marriage retreats that we have. Myself, Hassan, Naila, the Manage the Flow. We were in Maryland, we were in Jersey, South Jersey. We're going to be in Orlando, Florida, July 19th to the 21st. You know what I mean? You guys got to come out because this stuff, I'm giving it in a workshop format where there's a board. I'm writing down information and asking people to do skits and things like that. There's a lot of good that comes out of that stuff. You know what I mean? And we just encouraging you guys to invest more in yourselves, right? And yeah, unfortunately, it's sold out. I don't know if it's sold out for the singles, but I know for the couples, it's sold out. But inshallah, after this one, we will do another one, inshallah ta'ala. If you guys would like us to come to a particular city or a particular place, please, feel free to email me, email Hassan, Naila, and give us some suggestions and some places that you would like us to come. Alhamdulillah, we decided to step out of our comfort zone a little bit and go out to Orlando. So alhamdulillah, we found a nice facility wherein we can do it. But we encourage you guys to come out, man. Come out to the retreats, and inshallah, this weekend I'll be in Atlanta, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Inshallah ta'ala, I will repost the flyer. I will repost the flyer on my Instagram page and my Facebook page, inshallah, just to kind of let everybody know. And if there's someone in Atlanta that you would love to see me, converse with on a podcast, please, recommend them, reach out to them, reach out to me, and let me know, inshallah. Los Angeles, I don't know if there's enough Muslims in LA for us to come out there. I don't know. LA, y'all on your own time, man. Y'all do your own thing. Don't invite us to a place where only 1 or 2 couples are going to come. We ain't doing that. We need Africa. I would love to come to Africa, man. I would love to come home. I would love to come to Africa, inshallah. I'll post where I'll be in Atlanta. On the I think it's Masjid Mu'min, on the West End Masjid or something. I will be giving the Jummah khutbah there, and then there's a lecture on Saturday and I think on Sunday as well. Toronto, I don't know about Toronto. I love Toronto. Canada used to be a second home to me, but unfortunately, Canada doesn't want me there. So we're still working out the details with that, inshallah. I'll keep you posted. Jazakumullahu khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.